Welcome back to From 9 to Mom.
Where we discuss balancing the 9-to-5 hustle with the beautiful chaos that we call motherhood.
And do you like our new setup? I hope you guys are watching on YouTube because people are missing out.
Yeah, they're not understanding that we decided to be together.
Yeah.
For the podcast, and it's at my house. I'd like to point out that I made this artwork. Isn't it beautiful? This was a COVID project. Just this one of these two.
Wait, that one's good.
Thanks. They're gold foil. It was like back in the day when you had classes online and you would buy the supplies and do it. Like I got really into some weird crap, but that's a little memoir.
And we also, just for reference, there's two skeletons right here. What are their names?
Billy and Billy.
Billy 1 and 2. First and second are right.
We have 12 total skeletons, but 2 stay inside and 1 stays outside.
You're just gonna brought that up last night. Do you need more?
How many do you need?
But yeah, we're in person today, this is like the second month in a row we're posting one podcast together. But that made me think of a really good point. We need everyone to go watch us on YouTube. I recently told 2 people they need to because I feel like our facial reactions are important.
Yeah, especially when we're together.
Yeah.
Even when we're not, I just think sometimes you'll get to know exactly how we're feeling based on.
You can tell yes, but it's good. Yeah, it's fun to watch us on there. I actually recently have transitioned to my one other podcast I listen to. I try to watch it.
Oh,
it is more helpful.
My cousin Nicole, she watches every podcast that she does. She watches them. She said the same thing. And the one that she got me into, why can't I think of the name? It's Joey, Snuffy's friend Joey. And I don't watch it religiously, but I have enough. And I do enjoy it so much better watching them interact. It's just hard because if you're traveling, a lot of my podcasting listening is done in the vehicle or in the shower.
That's what I watch one that they release every morning, and it's one impossible to keep up with every week.
Yes.
But I have to listen in the car because I'll make shit.
Well, it's like Dateline. Every time I do Dateline things up, I have to listen.
Yeah, so you have to.
I'm actually behind in that because of all the illness that we incurred, and the fact that Katie's here too. We're knock on wood, healthy, happy.
Everyone is all right.
Even the kids went to bed last night. You might hear some screaming on the podcast last night from my daughters, or golf in the background from my husband in the garage. But we were recording our book recap from January's book, and I think that it kind of gave us some time to chat about life and what's been going on, and then also give us some time to reflect. I feel like we've been doing a lot of reflecting in 2025.
It's only February.
Yeah, January. We've talked about this. January was a full decade. So in that decade of time, I feel like we've done a lot of reflecting. Yeah, we've grown so much. But we joke about how this is therapy for us and how we've used this to initially it was the mom B-fest. We would just how hard it is to be a mom, especially working mom. I mean, guys, I went and dropped Daisy off while Katie was working on stuff for work. Even though we took off from work, she was still working on something for work. I dropped Daisy off, and every kid is dressed up as Blippi, Pokemon. We have Wendy, everyone. I'm what did I miss? I missed another character day. Thank God no one in Daisy's class was dressed up. The little kids did not dress up, nor did her teachers, who are also moms of young kids. And the one mom whom I love looks at me and I was I didn't know what dress day. She's we're not dressed up. They're not dressed up. Don't worry about it. And it's so refreshing to have that to talk about, and that's why we started. That's what we started talking about. But now I feel it really has become therapy, and we've had some self-realizations lately.
I feel every time we've talked or reflected on a podcast, and we're oh, what did we talk about? Or when people talk to me about that, I'm wow, I am really
I went back today, and Katie, you had a to-do list for our day today.
I have an agenda for our day, but I just have to embrace it. What am I going to do? That's who I am,
I think it's beautiful.
And it's fine. And I feel I used to be I need to try to go with the flow. I need to whatever. But I have learned, and I think, you brought part of it out of me, but the first time I came here, I would have never came with no clothes.
Yeah.
The one thing I was laughing at this morning, because I took a shower here, is I didn't bring shampoo, conditioner. I just was oh, it'll be there.
It'll be there.
And I'm never like that.
I hope it wasn't there.
No, it was.
Okay, good. I'm it usually is. I always have extra stuff. I'm the person. I'm just borrow leggings.
Leggings.
Whatever it is. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, and I was never like that. Even growing up, I was always the person people were borrowing from, or I was not. Yeah. When I would travel or something, I always had 10 pairs of everything, and I've just gotten a little more relaxed. I think it's also I straight up didn't have time.
Yeah, you had sick household. You know what? I'm just gonna come. But I do think, like you said, you realize how type A you are. I've been told my whole life because I mean, I did well in school. I was usually the captain of sports team. Like I am an in control person, but I've always assumed that meant, and I'm an ENTJ, like that's type J or type A all day. But I realized about myself that I might present myself to others as a type A, but like the more I get to know myself and the more like my friends get to know me, like I am very, even though I'm type A in certain scenarios, like I am also very, as a mom, as like I'm type B, like I'm that person that's like, we're gonna figure it out. Like we've got this. Like,
phone's always at 1%.
Phone's always at 1%. Like the car's at
I will say, like, it was funny though, because yesterday, like Danielle's phone is literally at 3%, mine's at like 20, and I like get just that, like, I would have been if my phone died, but like I was just like, that was something giving me like, shit, I might have to plug it in, whatever. Danielle's like, yeah, I'm at 1. I'm like, why didn't you take the charger? Like, why am I charging my phone? But it's just like more like in the
but I like don't love that about like about myself. Like I've realized like that those things are like probably really annoying to like my husband and you sometimes. But then I've also realized that like I present as type A in my life, like to everyone around me, but I also surround myself, every job I've ever had, every group project I've always done, like I've surrounded myself with like people that I know, like I can give you like that compliment
people with OCD.
Yeah. Like, you know, but like I've always had like extra for everyone. Like my biggest fear is like not having enough food, not having enough whatever.
Yes.
But like then it's like it's not like what is the food? It's like I have a bar full of stuff, like but it might not be what you like, but it's full.
There's something.
But I feel like if you compliment, and maybe Target taught me this when I worked at Target, it was all about like neutralize your weaknesses by like playing to your strengths and like building a team around you of people who have like the strengths that you don't have. And when you do that, like you said, like you came here more relaxed. Like you would have had such anxiety doing this 3 years ago.
Amazon is dropping off.
And you were the one like, nah, you can work Amazon. What did I order now? We'll see. Who knows?
Brett.
Yeah, it's Brett, my best friend. We're friends on Facebook. It's fine. Like, and that's the thing. Like, I'm like, oh, we can Amazon it. We can do. How many times have you been on
like last night? You Instacart
toothbrushes because I bought $75. It wasn't. It was $30, but it was $30 like the toothbrushes because your kids get sick and it's you.
I literally just bought everything. But I bought mine at the dollar store for the kids. I got them fun ones right now.
That's the way you do it. I bought fun ones, and that's why I spent way too much money because I bought like Pokemon and Pooh Bear, and then Daisy stole them, hid them. I have no idea where they are.
They're gonna come up in the most.
Yeah. So I just, but then of course I ordered like Starbucks so that we can make espresso martinis later. And
how nice is a photo of us in a local espresso martinis?
Yeah, it's gonna be great. But yeah, like I've learned that about myself, and it doesn't mean we like it. But like I think the more you accept it. The more you can play into it and understand like what you need to function and what others around you might need to function with you in the room.
And I think that's always been like when you look at like your partner.
Yeah.
You try to like look at some of the things and like maybe it's been interesting to see like as me and Ryan have grown up together.
Yeah.
Basically we met when we were like 18 or 19, like And so now we're like, we lived through our whole 20s together. And like, I mean, that's a lot of growing up time.
Yeah.
Like you're figuring out who you are and that. And like, everyone's always like, opposites attract and all that. And like, me and Ryan are opposites. Like a lot of our personality traits. But I always have liked that. Like he's been the outgoing one. Like I'm not super outgoing. Like it's always worked for us. And like, he brings me out of my shell with different things. And it's funny because everyone that I know relates differently. Usually girls like the outgoing one.
Yeah.
At least the people that we're surrounded with. And Ryan's the one that's like, you know, usually like do this, do that. And then like now we've noticed like he's such a germaphobe or like organization. He's like, oh my God, I never used to be like this. What'd you do to me? Like it was like he gets when the house is a mess. He's like, you changed me. I can't live with a messy house now.
But that definitely does happen with your spouse. And it does happen with like people you work with for a long time. It happens with your best friends and stuff like that. Like there's little things that like you pick up from people and they're like, I can't not do that. And I remember I was just at like a anniversary party with my date was my best friend Kelly, and she was judging me like with my skincare routine. She's like, Danielle, you can never consistently do a skincare routine. I was like, really? And I showed her like the consistent like things I was doing. I was like, I've changed like because she made me care about skincare, and she like ingrained it in my brain where now I'm scared. But like the biggest issue is if you have a relationship where I am like the organized one when it comes to scheduling bills, like all that stuff. Like and Jordan has no clue what's going on, even with the 66 calendars or like whatever. Like, what did he come out? We're trying to budget. He came out and he's like, I ordered 10 boxes of Girl Scout. What?
How many? Do you know how
Like,
much?
are you serious? And he's like, well, I had to. So it's like, okay, that's great. But like, he doesn't. So right now we're in this power struggle because I've been with Jordan as long as you have. Opposites really do attract. Jordan like grew up in a very like, his family was very frugal and saved. My family was like, sell another REM. Let's go on vacation. And like, don't pack a lunch. Like, we'll finally like there. And like, his family like packed lunches for 6 weeks beforehand. And he's like very like organized, but I've definitely rubbed off on him like a lot. And I don't know if he's had the same effect. There's like you said, there's no TV in your room. It's like, yeah, I take it out of what you say. I could never imagine not having TV in my room. Like I've always said.
But I think that's also like you look at how you grow together too. Of like Ryan didn't grow up with a TV in his room. I think it was not till college that he had one in there because he would bring it home from college to have it in his room. But like I grew up, I think I had a TV in my room since I was.
We all fell asleep with the TV on.
Yes, and I still do to this day. Ryan never did. Changed him.
Yeah, I didn't win that compromise. I feel like I compromised way more in that area because he's so like structured, and he would get mad at me and be like, why are you falling asleep on the couch? And because I need noise outside of your breath. Like, as comforting as you might think that is, like, I need something else. Like, I can't just go from 0 to, like, your breathing.
It made me think to, like, that's my number one at night. And Ryan turns over and is breathing on me, to lose my shit. And he laughs at me, but I'm just like, it makes me, and Jack does it now too. Jack will get up in my face and he thinks he's sucking my air. And if my mom's listening, I got it from my mom because she, like, gets, like, claustrophobic when people are, like, right up in her face. And I was like, how do you have 3 kids?
Right, I have like no concept of personal space.
Like Ryan doesn't really either because he wants to be touched all the times. I just at night I'm like, let me lay here. Don't breathe on me. Don't look at me. Like that's how, and it's like has nothing to do with how I feel. I need it. And he'll like roll over towards me, and I'm like, I'm gonna kill you. I literally build a barrier in between us.
Stop it.
Because I can't. Like I get so annoyed. I'm like, stop. Or I like turn over and like. He's like, sometimes he's like, you're so, like, I don't wake up, but like, if he does, I get so dramatic and like thrash myself over.
Yeah, Jordan's always like, we took the blanket. Like, he's so like controlling and like possessive of his space in the bedroom. Like, where I'm like, Bolton will come in, like, I have pictures, he will say it's not true, but I have receipts, I have evidence. Like, where both kids and the dog are in my side of the bed, and then Jordan has his own side. But the one thing I can't stand. My dad snored his whole life, it drives me nuts, but like, I'm used to it. We all are used to it. Does anyone else's husband snore like this? I'm going to upload a video of this. It is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. And I take videos of it constantly because I'm like, what is this? Does it? So it's got to be genetic. So
it has to be.
I'm like, what is this? Like, if you're going to snore,
be normal.
Please snore. It has to be normal. Like, snore. Like, it's like you're shooting little darts out of your mouth.
You're like, are you awake? Like, what?
It's very frustrating. But like, we all have given and take. But like, I think that also and we've been with our husbands for a really long time, both of us, like 17, like whatever. But I think like with the podcast, even with talking with them, like sometimes we'll be like, oh, that's on me. Like we're like complaining about something, you're like, oh wait, maybe that's like a me thing. And I think even just like. This is not about the book, but we were talking about this last night, which led it into what I'm about to say, is like so much of our young life as women, I think as men too, like I don't think this goes for just women. I just think for us, like we always feel like we've got something to prove and we've got to be like a certain person. Like I want to be this type of person. I want to, be the person that everybody like looks at to do A, B, C, and D, or I want my spouse or my boyfriend to think that I don't like cheeseburgers when secretly I'm in the closet. Like I would eat in front of Jordan for like 3 months. I was so skinny. Like he loved me. He loved eating. He'd be like, I love that like you order food and I get to eat it all. And when I started eating, he was like, what is this? This is garbage.
Like we just joked about that. Like you got catfish.
Yes.
Michelle is almost halfway. She's like, then I catfish you.
Yeah, we kind of catfish. I think we catfish ourselves too. Like in a way, I did a lot of what I did in my younger years. When I say younger years, I mean through my 20s, like through now. I'm 39. I'm gonna be 39 this week. Like we do so much to like be the person that we think everybody wants us to, and that we want to be. Which I think is good. Like, don't not set goals for yourself. Like, you're so bored. Like, that's one thing that every day starts for me. Like, do my gratitude, I set my goals. Like, if you don't do that, I think for me, then I'd fail. Yeah. But also I've learned that like some of the stuff the decisions I made or the way I went about stuff was not for like who I truly am and not in line with like what I truly want for myself or in line with the strengths that I actually have. And I think like, shocker, I didn't want kids. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think it was because I knew, like now I can accept the fact that I knew that if I do everything I do is 150%. And I knew that if I had kids, it would change my entire life. But at the time, I didn't tell myself that. I didn't want kids because I wanted the career. I wanted to be like, I wanted to keep doing what I wanted to do. Girl bossing. Like whatever it was. Like I really convinced myself of that. But I think deep down, I knew that once I loved kids. I did that for jobs for years. Like I love animals. I was like, I'm going to want to 150%, give 150% to my kids. Yeah. And 150% to my job. And then I'm supposed to give 150% to my husband. And like, when is the percentage left for me? And I did exactly what I just said is happening to me. And it wasn't that I didn't want kids. I just didn't know. I felt like if I gave in to having kids or I admitted that I wanted them, then I'd be here. Right. But here's not so bad. So all the years I spent fighting it, because I wanted to be this other person, like you can be both people.
Embrace both. It's funny because like we took Daisy for a walk this month. Took Daisy for a walk.
We walked her. First of all, we matched with our coffee. Like Daisy had like the most ridiculous like sunglasses. We looked like.
But we, as we were walking, we were talking about like schedules and like routines. People get so caught up with like, and I'm not saying it's not hard. Postpartum, coming back to work, like that is probably the hardest thing you have to do. But then there's more hard moments. That it doesn't stop. It doesn't get like. It's not going to get easier. It gets a different type of hard.
I agree.
And it's like, you have to, like, the routines can sit, like, you get into a season and it's like 1 month and it's gone. You have to pick something new.
Get a new routine.
Whether it's like, adjusting to different things. But like, we were talking now about like the sports, how our weeknights are going to be different. Like, what meals to cook. Like, all these things, like,
things you think you have under control that are now not under control.
They're not. And it's like, and then you think you do, and then it's like, now the routine needs to change because we added a sport in, or we added this, and like,
they no longer love the mac and cheese that they loved 5 minutes
ago. And it's like, you have to change again, and then it's like, that change impacts everything. Because now it's like, if you're going to make dinner 3 nights a week now too, you have to factor that in. Then your work time changes. If the kids are going to go to sports at 4:30, you got to adjust your hours. It just all impacts, and you keep consistently changing it. So like that first time postpartum coming back and like working through the daycare drop off or whatever drop off it is, like you get through that part, then it's like now we have to adjust to the next one because now they're in the toddler class.
Yeah.
They're in the 2-year-old class.
In that class, they're potty training.
Now they're in preschool and
they're potty training in Daisy's school right now. So we have to factor in like, we're going to go potty every 30 minutes. Like, how do you do anything with that? When you have a 6-year-old who's like,
going to
kindergarten. And I just think you're right. Like, it's constant change. And I think that before we had kids, we were in control of what we wanted to change. Like, if we picked up a kickball league, like, we knew we were picking up the kickball league, and who cared if we missed it, or B, we went out for wings after every kickball game or softball game. Like, that's what you did. Like, you wouldn't know when to come up. Yeah. I mean, I was in Buffalo at that point, at that time in my life. So, like, you go to Rafferty's or Duff's and, like, get wings after the league. And it's like, you could just do that. Like, now you can't just do anything without it impacting someone or something else or your job.
Lots of decisions that have to be made to maneuver your schedule. But I think like to try to bring this full circle for us is like you have to change a little bit in all of those things. You either like things push and pull, and some people can say they have it all. Or they may not what? They're not mentally stable.
For you.
They're clearly not mentally stable, but like sometimes you do feel like you have it all.
There's moments where you're like,
yes, like we have it, and then like the lows are just low. Mm-hmm. But that's where like when we keep doing our podcast and like talking through stuff, we don't even pre-plan episodes, people anymore. Like we're just talking about stuff that is coming up for us. And like,
we used to be like we would create a document. This is how organized we were both. Yeah. We did this together because it was something I think you knew I needed to have done together.
Well, we both had a plan when we're recording, like
everything was planned. Yes. Every like question we were going to talk about or the topics we would do a lot of research, and we still do that when it's the right topic.
Yeah.
But we just shoot and talk because we're way more comfortable in this.
Well, we want to be real. Like, we want to
Yeah.
be, and this has been stuff that we've been thinking about. And, like, just looking at January and reflecting on that, like, as things have changed, like, you just keep adjusting. Like, I had mentioned this morning when we were out on our walk, you were like, it would be great to have this part of my routine, like, that I could come out and walk and all that. I'm like, yeah, but when I was here 3 months ago, like, Daisy was on a crazy schedule. So, like, your life was so different 3 months ago. It could be different in another week.
And that's, I think that is the hardest part. Like, you are working through the systems of your kids, through your husband. Like, Jordan's job just changed, so now he's out in a different part of town. We're having to rethink after school care because it's not close to either of us. And is it worth going there? Everybody, you think about that and how much time that adds on. It's just, we're always, and that's what our life is going to be. But I think the podcast, if nothing else, has made us more confident in being okay with that and accepting it and not coming on and be like, oh, we're the perfect, like, I'm a disaster.
What do you mean we're perfect? This has been the perfect podcast. We're perfect moms.
So we're so wonderful. And I think there's moments, like you said, where we're like killing it.
Yeah, we feel good. I mean, I definitely have gone on the record and been like, team figured out. Like, me and Ryan always will get like that. And then it's like Wednesday comes and it slaps you. Like, I don't have it all together. Like, the kids didn't sleep or something so little throws your routine off. But then it impacts your whole day.
The entire thing.
And then we take it, and it's outside
Daisy threw up. See, going to get Katie yesterday, we had this beautiful plan.
Yes.
She flies in at 8:15, and we did schedule this part out, but because scheduling certain things are important, we've been trying to see each other once a month, if possible. And we scheduled this for 8:15. She flew in. It's perfect. I would get her. My game plan was to leave at 8. Usually it takes me 25 minutes to get to the airport. So by the time she got down, took me 50 minutes to get Katie. So at 8:45, I picked her up at 8:47. I looked back at Daisy, and I had already seen her turn in like a shade of green. I'm like, I'm on the phone with you. We're pulling in. She gets car sick. So, like, we're pulling in, and I'm like, as I'm talking to her, Daisy's vomiting in the back seat. Starts crying. I'm like, great. So originally, pick you up at 8:15, or pick you up at 8:30, say. Daisy's daycare is about the same distance. 9 o'clock is drop off. We would be back at the office 9:15. Latest, working right for our 9:30 meeting. We didn't even get back to my house until 9:30. We had to clean Daisy's barf up. My brother was waiting here for me because he needed. Sorry, Joe, but blowing you up. He wanted to use my bathroom. I'm like his go-to bathroom if he's dropping his son off at school. So he's in my house, typical of my family. 50 times. I have a FaceTime, and he was like, "Why aren't you answering?" He was like, "Her daughter just barfed." I'm joking. By the time we started work, it was 10 when we started actually talking about deep work. It was 11 before we got into the office that we wanted to go to. It didn't mean we didn't work. We stayed later than we thought we were gonna. We did what we had to do. That is an example of we had the best laid plans. Everything was set so that we could be 100% for ourselves, for our kids, for work. And then, of course, you have people upset. Like, people are upsetting me at work because I can't make the night, and I would be too. But, like, what am I supposed to do? My daughter just barfed everywhere.
And that's the hard thing is, like, but then you have to, like, because we came up with a new motto, and we just said, like, let people be upset, let people be disappointed, even yourself, like, a little
podcast, but we can't afford you.
It's almost like, too, like, you have to let that, like, work Danielle be a little mad.
Yeah.
Because you want to, and that, I think, keeps you good at your job, right? Like, if you are a little disappointed.
I was disappointed. And I was like, let them be upset.
But you can't do it.
Like, and then the next part, like, they say, like, all I could do was make sure that everything I was supposed to do, I was able to send out and recap and make sure I was still, like, getting my portion of what I was supposed to provide to the people that needed to hear it.
You play catch up and you get it done, and it works.
And you dwelled on it for, like, the old me would have dwelled on it for the whole rest of the day.
Because then you're also upset that people are, feel like you didn't pull your weight, and you want to, like, make sure that you meet all those things, but then it's like it changes you a little bit with that, and it's not always in a bad way because you, like you said, that could have affected, like, old you, that would have affected your entire day. You would have been upset through the entire day.
Yes, trying to overcompensate.
We had it shooken off by lunch, and, like, we were on for the day and still got everything that we needed to.
Yeah, part of our to-do list was done.
Daniel's lucky I didn't like print out itineraries and have it like laying on a pillow.
But that's the crazy part. Like, for some of my friends, like, what does that say about me and my friends? I am that person. You know what it is? I want somebody who's a psychologist that's listening to us to help me with this.
Oh, I would love to be a coach.
Yes, me too. I mean, and I've gone to therapy, but this is different. I want a psychologist to tell me. Because I've actually been, like, trying to work through this for a while. And I really love deep diving into projects, companies, events that have an end date. Does that make sense? Like, I love, if you give me a project that's like a short-term project, or you give me a bachelorette party or a wedding, or you give me, like, we're going to do a strategic organization at YPC Media, I eat it up. Like, I will go all in, and I like, once it's done, and once I've completed it, it'll be the best. But then I want to move on to the next project.
Yeah, you need to.
So what does that say about me as a person? Because how can I be like that in such a short-term capacity, but then, like, your day-to-day not do that?
But I think it's also day-to-day stuff doesn't technically have endpoints because you know the next one's coming as soon as you finish one. The next one's
just like
coming.
kind of exciting to
You
me.
don't. Yeah.
Maybe I could like get over that. Like, because life is not always exciting. Or is it? According to my vision board, it is. It's always exciting.
Well, with kids,
it's always exciting. It's not the excitement we wanted, but
it's a new journey every day.
Yeah, one of our listeners called me this morning. She's my friend. But she's supposed to go to Aruba in 2 days. She has a kid with the flu, and she's like, what do I do? What do I do? I'm like, trust
Do you
me.
find sometimes that person in your friend group, like, people are calling, not always for, like, sometimes it's advice, but, like, they know you're, like, the listener? Or do you have somebody that you know is the listener?
I've gotten very lucky with a lot of my friendships where it's a very, like, there are phases in our life where one of us is the listener and one of us is the talker. There are certain friends, like, that I'm that person for, but I feel like it all, now because we're all in these different phases of momhood or, like, chosen not to have kids, like, there's different things we call each other for. So, like, in this case, I've had to cancel trips. I've had to go, like, because of sickness. She's like, I know you're going to give me the answer I need. And she wanted somebody else to validate, because at the end of the day, and it doesn't matter what she decides to do because it's what's right for you. Yeah. But I think as moms, like, we want something else. Like, I want to go on that trip. Like, I want that time with my husband. I want to do that, but I'm going to be so stressed that is it even going to be fun? And you want to be like, and sometimes I'll be like, you're being crazy. And sometimes I'll be like, no, you're not being crazy. But I do think, but I know you're that person to your friends. And you were the first mom.
I have a lot of people now that I have found are listeners to me too. Because, like, you have to have somebody to release to. But I also, like, there's been things I've recently been, like, heated about. And I'm like, I just need somebody to match my energy with it. And there's a couple people in my life that are doing that for me. And you need somebody that sometimes you just need to feel validated. Yeah. My friend called you and she knew that you were going to be like, yeah, you probably, like, reassure your decision. It does help to have that, especially in, like, motherhood and that, because like, there's so much that we don't know. Like, you don't know what you don't know yet. Like, there's things that haven't happened to us yet that we're going to need advice on, or, you know, look for advice on. And there's people that have lived that already. So it is nice to, like, get validation for something, because then it makes you feel like,
it does. Or you need somebody to say, like, I know that, like, I've called, like, let's just think about when I wasn't feeling my best. Like, I remember her and you being two of the people that I talked to a lot about it. So I was like, I'm not feeling good about myself, and it's impacting the way, but, like, I was watching you, like, this is when you and Ryan were starting to really take care of yourself, and she, like, this friend is in the best shape of her life. She's strong, independent. She's, like, she's always been beautiful, but you could just see from the inside out, and, like, she was not there a year ago. Yeah. You know, she was very much where I was. And I feel like between, like, the two, that's who I reached out to for that, because I needed that motivation. I needed someone to tell me, like, Dale, get out of your own shit. Like, you are the reason you're not. Like, yes, people around you need to support you, but you need to be the one to first say, like, I'm making this a priority. Like, I'm taking up this hobby, or I'm going to go for this walk every morning. Like, everyone else has to adjust to you making that your priority, as long as it's not hurting anybody else. But I needed somebody to be like, stop sitting and being a victim.
Here's what you need to do to get to that. Yeah, and it is, because that's a big thing, like, with changing the routine and stuff. You have to find, if you have a priority that you want to do, you have to adjust the entire routine, every facet of life.
And the entire family around it.
To do that, and it does feel, like, daunting, but I think that's also why people get, like, stuck in current depression or that, and I'm not a professional and I didn't experience it, so I don't want to, like, over speak on it. Is that it's really, I can see how it can be really hard, because you have to change everything to get out of your funk.
Even if you don't have postpartum depression, it's so hard. So imagine putting postpartum depression on top of all that with all the hormones. And I didn't get diagnosed with postpartum depression, and I never had it. And I might have talked about this on the podcast before. I never had it. I had nothing with Golden, like that for sure. But with Daisy, it wasn't about Daisy. I was obsessed with her. Yeah, obsessed with her. But something wasn't right with me, like my motivation.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was exhausted because Daisy literally never slept. I don't know if it was postpartum or that. And it took me a lot longer to like snap back into a normal person. And I feel like if that's even a fraction of what people with real postpartum depression feel like I know friends who like have like a really, really like emotionally and mentally hard time. And you watch all these movies and stuff of women who and that has nothing to do with them. That's just, it's like, and then add that on to everything we're talking about now. But I think the only thing that like creates sanity for most people is having a group of people to rely on, whether that's new mom friends or old friends. Like there's my mom, like I make fun of her nonstop, but she's a great source because she raised me and I know what I did. And just being able to talk to people who've gone through it or who are going through it, and it does feel good sometimes to be the person who's like, you're going to get through this.
Yes, the other side. It does help.
It makes you feel better because you're giving that to somebody else too. Yeah. And I think that it takes a village to raise children. Mm-hmm. And I think that we've gotten away from that. Everybody's gotten into this like world where it's your village can't just be watching other people's lives on social media. You have to interact with the people that you're around and support them. There's been so many times I've called a neighbor to ask them to grab Colton for me because this is happening. Or this morning, I won't name names, but one of my friends called me. They were bringing me something. I wasn't home, and I ended up talking to them for 30 minutes because her daughter, who's my friend, we're the same. Like me and the mom are the same. I'm also friends with her 21-year-old daughter, and probably because I see so much of younger me and her. And we talked. She totaled her car yesterday, which I've done. Jordan's done. And we talked for 30 minutes, just about it, and it felt good to be able to be like, don't stress. You're getting a new car,
right? Like it's gonna.
And I know for them it was good to just, like you said, vent and get it off.
Yes. Get it.
So I think that's what this podcast has given us, even if it's not we feel this way about people who engage with us too. But like you and I were saying, we were just talking in general. If we didn't work together, we started this because we worked together, and we were talking about it. But if we didn't work together at this point, we would still be doing the podcast. We would still be visiting each other. We're trying to figure out ways that our kids can go on a vacation together or see each other. That is the gift. It's a gift that this has given us, but also the gift of really learning about ourselves, the good and the bad. Not bad. I think it's bad.
Well, I think it's also just embracing it. It's not any of the bad things about it, but it's just you recognize that you're a certain way, and sometimes it's nice to just be self-aware of the way that you are with different things. Like I was saying, me and Ryan get anxiety when we travel apart. Maybe Ryan doesn't.
No, he does. I think
but we do, and we, that's the way I am. And I was gonna stay longer this trip, and I cut it back a day, and how much more relaxed am I? And I know that it's
so much more
the one day, but it makes it worth it.
Well, because I know that's how you are. I'm not gonna sit here and be stay the extra day. In the beginning, I was like, if you want to stay, stay. If you don't, and you've done that to me too.
Yeah.
Where I would have never done that for myself because I always feel guilty, I need to give more. And not that you don't want to give more, but I feel guilty that if I don't stay for the extra day at work or I don't do this was more. Mm-hmm. But you were Danielle, if you are uncomfortable with it, it's not worth it because you're not going to be fun. You're not going to and then we have more, and that's where you've been able to rely on me, and I've been able to get you down. But that's even coming for so long. I mean, I'm done my time. I think that's what you're trying to find out. That's what I mean. Yeah. So you've been coming down since 2019.
That's what we were just saying. I think when your brother was over, I realized it too because Michael was just born.
Yeah, he's 5.
And he's like, oh, he's 5. I'm like, no, he's 3 or 2. No, wait, my kids are 3. I'm like, oh my gosh. But it jumps really fast.
Yes, time flies. But
that's almost a cliche thing to say.
Well,
it's the first realization every mom has is that the advice that everyone's it goes by so fast. It's the first thing.
The days are long, but the months and the years.
Do you have any cliches?
Let's say, it's not. What's the breath one? It's not the amount of breath we take. It's the moments that take our breath away. Like, should we just go through an old cottage and read all the quotes?
It is like that, but then it's so dumb, but I think that's the first realization.
And then you realize you're turning into your mom, and you're like, shit, this is so bad.
I wouldn't do this.
How many times last year did I try getting someone else's car? Like, that's something my mom would always do. I'd be like, that, she's ridiculous. Like, she's not paying attention.
We did say we'll always keep each other.
Yeah, well, that's really important too. Like, having a friend that would be like, you are.
I've had this conversation with multiple friends. How do we keep each other in check from doing crazy stuff that we make fun of?
But then what happens when you're going, like, this is what I'm watching my mom and her friends go through. Like, they're just like, we're all going a little crazier. They're all going a little crazier. They're not recognizing it.
They just all are
They're
crazy,
all,
so
like,
no one's calling in.
So, like, there's going to be those, like, two grandmas, like, online, on TikTok and Instagram right now that are just, like, doing videos and all this crazy stuff. Outfit of the day, outfit of the funeral, that lady.
Oh my gosh, she's the best one. I love her.
Anyway.
All right, well, I think it's...
Yeah, we've rambled on a lot, but I think we're going to leave you with the fact that we think that you should take time to accept the things about yourself that maybe you're fighting and use those to balance your life and benefit yourself. If you need extra support, my best friend, Mel Robbins, has written this book called Let Them. She's my best friend. And sorry, Katie, like, she's my best friend. We talk all the time, aka she talks to me through Audible. But take a look at that book because I feel like it has.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, like, made a little bit of an impact, but also, like, go do something fun. This podcast was a stretch for us, and it's been so fun. And we encourage you guys to do something fun for yourselves with your besties. So with that, we'll clock out and clock back in to the 9 to 5. Cheers. See you guys next time.